US President Donald Trump is praising India's voter identification system as he pushes for stricter voting rules in the United States. Donald Trump has called on Congress to pass the Save America Act, a proposed law that would require proof of US citizenship and voter ID for federal elections. And while making his case, Donald Trump pointed to India. Yes, in a post on Truth Social, Donald Trump referred to a recent conversation involving India's Chief Election Commissioner Gyanesh Kumar. The US President said that Kumar had asked the US administration, and I quote him, "How can elections be held in America without a valid photo ID?" Donald Trump then compared the two systems between the US and India. He said India's last general election had around 646 million voters and claimed that less than 1% voted by mail. He also said that every voter had to present a valid photo identity document. Donald Trump concluded by saying the US should adopt stricter identification requirements. So, what is the Save America Act? Well, the Save America Act is a proposed US law that seeks to tighten voter registration and voting rules for federal elections. The basic idea is simple. Only US citizens should be allowed to vote in federal elections. To register, voters would have to provide proof of citizenship. The bill would also require valid identification. It would further require states to remove people who are not US citizens from federal voter roll, according to the White House's description of the legislation. The bill also seeks to register mail-in voting. Under the proposal, voting by mail would be limited to certain situations, including illness, a disability, or military service, or in case of traveling. This is a significant change because mail-in voting rules vary widely across the United States. The Trump administration is using India as an example of a country where voter identification is built into the election process. The White House has also compared India with Brazil. It says that both countries link voter identification to biometric databases, while the US largely relies on self-attestation of citizenship. The administration argues that America should adopt stronger safeguards, but there is an important distinction. India's election system and America's election system are not structured in exactly the same way. India conducts elections through a central constitutional election authority, while US elections are administered through a much more decentralized system involving individual states and local authorities. So Donald Trump's comparison is being used primarily to make a political argument for stronger voter ID requirements in America. Trump has repeatedly urged both Republicans and Democrats to support the legislation. He believes that only American citizens should decide American elections. The White House has described the bill as a common sense measure to strengthen election security. The legislation was introduced in the Congress on 29th January. Voter identification and election security are highly contentious issues in the United States. Donald Trump has repeatedly argued that stricter ID and citizenship requirements are necessary to protect the integrity of US elections. Critiques of such measures, however, have raised concerns that stricter identification and registration requirements could make voting more difficult for some eligible voters. The Save America Act would make proof of citizenship and voter identification central to federal voter registration. Whether Congress will pass it remains the bigger question.